And it's really not about the how or the when, and it's all about the who. If the idea doesn't come before the person who actually helps you get there. I have 24 hours in a day, just like you do, right? And there's no way that I can achieve all those things or effectively run all those companies if I don't have an effective org chart in place. And so every time I come up with an idea, I shelve that idea and I'm like, okay, well, this is how I could vertically integrate that into the leads and the databases that I already own, and I can make this much money off of it. But none of that matters until I can find someone to partner with to help me achieve those goals. And it's, you call it rocket fuel, whether it's the visionary versus the implementer, or or just who, not how. Both of those principles make sense here, but it's always, I think of an idea, how we can implement that, and then it's shelved until I find the who. And that's what we've done. We've found 7 who's, and as I go on and I meet people, I'm like, man, you'd be really good at something. Let me figure out what that is, and just plug and play.
Welcome to the David Adam Kerr Show.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the David Adam Kerr Show. So glad to have you guys back. Once again, thanks for tuning in as much as you guys do. If you're watching this on YouTube, first time checker outer, like you're here for the first time, you're checking us out for the first time, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Other than that, if you're listening to this on podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. And if you want to do me an even bigger favor and get the word out about this amazing podcast, go ahead and share it with your friends and family, put it out there on social media, get people to come in and tune in and listen, because we are the podcast that really is real estate based, but we don't have a problem talking about anything, right? I've got a great guy on the podcast today. His name's Harrison Lilly. Runs several different companies. We're going to dig into some of that a little bit. We're going to talk about time. We're going to talk about how in the world he has time to run 7 different businesses. But he is the owner of THLT Realty and Companies, and we're excited to have you, man. Harrison, thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, man, David, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, dude, you're let's jump into it. So I'm looking here: real estate, insurance, convenience stores, investing. Residential, mid, long, short, flips, commercial, there's so much that you're doing. How do you, because this is number one question I get, right? I run 4 different businesses, and the number one question I get is how, with what, when, you know what I mean? So you just up me, you're double the amount of businesses that I'm operating, and we talked a little bit before the show. We talked about our goals and when we're going to sort of retire, right?
Yeah.
but getting into that, how do you operate at such a high level, high speed? What are you doing different that most people can't?
Yeah. So you said, how is that possible? And it's really not about the how or the when, and it's all about the who. If the idea doesn't come before the person who actually helps you get there. I have 24 hours in a day, just like you do, right? And there's no way that I can achieve all those things or effectively run all those companies if I don't have an effective org chart in place. And so every time I come up with an idea, I shelve that idea and I'm like, okay, well, this is how I could vertically integrate that into the leads and the databases that I already own, and I can make this much money off of it. But none of that matters until I can find someone to partner with to help me achieve those goals. And it's, you call it rocket fuel, whether it's the visionary versus the implementer, or or just who, not how. Both of those principles make sense here, but it's always, I think of an idea, how we can implement that, and then it's shelved until I find the who. And that's what we've done. We've found 7 who's, and as I go on and I meet people, I'm like, man, you'd be really good at something. Let me figure out what that is, and just plug and play.
It's interesting. You've got to have a really good gut radar, call it what you want, for good people, because not all people are good people. I've had some really shitty business partners, and yeah. I'm sure you've been down that road too.
I liquidated a partnership this year. It was a 6-figure loss for me, and it was the happiest 6 figures I've ever let go of in my life, because I got to sleep that night, and that was really important to me.
It's not worth it.
No, it's not. The feelings that I was feeling, which was anger and violence and literally wanting bad things for somebody. That's not who I am.
Right.
People who know me know that I'll go to the grave for my people. I love my people. And so if I have to have those feelings towards you, you're not somebody I need in my life anymore. And so I took the L, and that was fine with me. And it's been great.
That's good. And so, you know, let's talk about this radar. Let's talk about this ability to choose the right people, because look, man, like I just said, you know, you just liquidated a company and you slept better. You know, I went through a crazy lawsuit for several years with a former partner. And, you know, and it's almost like you knew in your gut, but you ignored that moment and you kept rolling with it until you realized that there was no other choice but to, you know, liquidate or destroy or separate or whatever it is that happens at the end. And how has that helped you figure out like the right people? You know, because look, we talk on stage all the time. We talk about leverage, and we talk about the number one leverage being the people around you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't do it all by yourself.
I can't do a quarter of it by myself. And quite frankly, I don't want to do a tenth of it by myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That lesson taught me, you know, you always hear hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
And I think with business partners, it's a little bit different because you can't just fire a business partner fast. That's not fair. You're in a life commitment with somebody. That's what a partnership is to me, is, hey, me and you are going to change each other's lives. We're going to be here for a while. I saw the warning signs early on how they treated others and how they did things inside their lives. And I just kept putting my head under a pillow because we were making money. And it came to a point where it had blown up so big where I just couldn't stomach it anymore. And this is how I personally felt, whether right or wrong. This is my perception. I didn't agree with how they were treating others. And I prolonged it by going, he would never do that to me. He would never do that to me. And every time I saw it, with how he treated this person or that person or whatever, he'd never do that to me. And then I went, would he do that to me? Because I saw him acting differently towards people that he supposedly loved.
Right.
And come to find out, he would do that to me.
Yeah.
And so I had to make a decision, like, am I going to confront this, or what am I going to do? And we did have a few conversations that didn't go well. And we opted to get out of business. But through that, I've learned that you need to be looking how people treat their families, how people treat their children, how people treat their wives, how people treat the other people they're in business with, how people treat their employees, because that's going to show you how they're going to act once they get comfortable with you, or once they've gotten the money or the lines of credit that they need or the expertise that they needed at the time.
Yeah.
And because I was making money with this person and making very good money with this person, I put my head in the sand for a long period of time. And then it ended poorly.
Yeah, you pretended it just wasn't going to happen to you. There's no way in the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, a lot of people will do things like that. They will put the income, the earnings of money ahead of the relationship that creates that money. And I think that, you know, look, I am financially driven. Like everything in my life is financially driven, right?
Yeah.
You know, if I'm depressed, chances are my bank accounts are low. You know what I mean? If I'm super happy and you see me having a good time, chances are my bank accounts are okay.
I just made a lot of money that month.
Yeah. So, you know, and my wife and I talk about it all the time. Like, I'm financially driven. I like doing things that create money. Like, you know, we partnered in a title company. We're launching in Texas. I spend half my time in another state by myself. Like, I'm okay with that because I'm financially driven and I know we're doing big things over there, you know, and I'm partnered with the right people. And that's the big thing you said, right? And so, like, in my head, I'm like, how long do I really have to do this before I open Austin and Dallas and Houston and Laredo and McAllen and all these great places? How long do I have to do it before I put the rock star team in place? And it's the people building the business with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Always. That question is so important. Who are you going to partner with? And it says a lot about you, who you partner with.
Right.
That was a lesson I learned after I got out of business. Some of my old business acquaintances that I had introduced this person to were still doing business with them. And I had to ask some questions. Like, either A, you don't believe me, or B, we may not be in as alignment as maybe I thought that we were.
I thought we were. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had to even have some hard conversations inside my sphere, because I do believe there is a biblical principle that your money follows your heart.
Yeah.
And so by giving you money, it says, I approve of you.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was a whole nother section of that liquidation. But it definitely showed me who my partners and my alignments were with.
Yep. Anytime you drop somebody from your life, you pay attention to the people that follow that person down the rabbit hole, you know?
Absolutely.
It's really interesting. You know, there's so many stories about this too, right? It's like there's one book, I think it's Rich Dad Poor Dad, that says, if you want to figure out what your average income is going to be, check the 5 people around you and average out the income, right? Yep. My mom used to say to me when I was a kid, like, you are who you hang with, you know? Yep. Like, I grew up in the Bronx in New York. So my mom was like, oh, you're hanging out with those guys? Remember, you are who you hang with, right? Yeah. If the cops are stopping those guys, doesn't matter how good of a kid you are, you're getting mixed up in that, you know? And so it's the same thing as you grow in business, right? The people that you decide to input in your businesses, the people that you decide to put in your life, the people that you align yourself with, and you just said it right now, you start realizing, wait a minute, maybe we're not in as alignment as we thought, personally and business, by the way, right? Yeah. I think business is personal when you start adding partners.
Partnership is personal.
Yeah.
You know, I recently went through an issue in one of my companies, and this is a leadership lesson that I learned about partnership. And this was just in the last few months. One of my partners was doing some things in his own time that we just did not agree on tremendously. So we had to, I made the decision. I went and met with everybody and I said, hey, we're going to be letting this person go. And so we had a meeting and it was just to let him go. Now, I had some private conversations with this person, not in mediation, not as our business plan would have said it should have went. So I didn't do things the right way. Right. I just went and had some private conversations. They assured me everything was fine. A few months later, it's not fine. It's worse. And these were kind of deal breakers. In fact, these were deal breakers for everybody who knew about them. Yeah. And so we sat down and it was just an immediate, like, hey, you're out. And just like what you just said, partnership is personal. You can't do that to your partners. Yeah, you got to follow your operating agreement in removal. And so I actually, where I felt like I was right. And I think the decision was the right decision, to be fair, but you can be right and wrong at the same time. And then as a leader, you have to realize I didn't make the right decision. We should have followed our operating agreement, went through mediation and tried to heal this relationship before ending it. Yeah. And so those are 2 times where doing the right thing and the hard thing, I waited too long and then I did it too quick. Mm-hmm. And so there's a right way to do everything.
Man, hard lessons to learn, you know, and this, by the way, you know, for the people listening, right, this is the same in friendship as well, right? Like, you know, you're going to have friends in your life that you might have to let go of. You might have to fire fast, right? Like, you know, it happens. You know, I always say, you know, the harder you work, the higher you become, and the higher you are, the less air there is to breathe. Mm-hmm. And as you keep rising and rising and rising, more and more people begin to fall off. Yeah. And you know, when you just think about the greatest in the world, the greatest billionaires in the world, they're the loneliest people in the world, right? Like they're just at the top. People don't even know how to relate to them at a certain point, can't even breathe the same air, you know? And, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, people like Elon Musk, they got the same 24 hours. We'll say he has the same 24 hours as anybody else. Very true. So how has he accomplished so much? Man, his brain just operates different, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because my wife and I were talking about him the other day, as a matter of fact, last night. And we're watching an interview with his brother, and his brother says that Elon just does not have empathy. Mm-hmm. And so when you think of a businessman who has no empathy, like, you know, that requires people to say things out loud because he just won't think it, mm-hmm. you know? So his brother would say, well, what, you know, hey, you're going to do this project. What about your wife? You have a wife and kids. And he would go, so? Right? Like in his, you know, in his brain, he was like, what do you mean? I'm about to build a rocket. Like, leave me alone. Get out of my way, you know? And his brother learned growing up with him that he needed to say things like that out loud because Elon wouldn't just think it. That's not normal behavior, which is why he is who he is and the rest of us are who we are. I have empathy, I have humility, I have love, I have those things in my heart that, surely you had some tough situations where, you had to let go of somebody in your life that you absolutely loved, or you had to create a great amount of space between you and her.
Yeah. There's a huge correlation in that between business and personal. I completely agree. Anytime you go to a hiring or recruiting class, it's always build a bench, right? Like, even if I don't have a place for you today, like, at least let me interview so I can figure out where you go next. And then number 2 is top grade your talent. And you're doing that inside your relationships and friendships too. I believe that's a thorough reason why I'm not married. Like, I love my ex-wife. I really do. I truly do. And yet as things changed in my life, things changed. And I'm not saying that business owners should divorce their wives, just so everybody knows that. I actually hate the fact I ever got a divorce. And yet the lifestyle had changed and it was no longer a fit, unfortunately. And but that's the same way in friendships, man. I have probably a quarter of the friends that I used to have. So my background is actually in bars and restaurants. So from the time I was 18 to the time I was 27, I was behind a bar almost 7 nights a week.
Hey, man, can I ask you a question on that? So I can't tell you how many successful entrepreneurs, and I'm going way off fucking topic now. So
I already know where you're going. I agree with you.
I can't tell you how many successful entrepreneurs, realtors, lenders, title guys, like all these different people come to me and go, I started in the bar industry, or started in the party industry, I started in club promoting. Like, what is it about that industry that builds, I don't know, good, successful entrepreneurial people in sales?
All right. So how do you make your money when you're in bars, nightclubs, all that stuff?
I mean, you're selling.
Yeah, you're constantly selling. I made a very quick correlation when I was like 19 years old. I had just got done bar backing for my first year. They let me get behind the bar, and I realized that telling stories, making people laugh, I even made shit up. Like, they weren't even real stories. I was lying. It was fictional stories going on behind the bar. And
people are listening right now. They want, Harrison, I want my tip back, man.
Right? But the more they laughed, the more they smiled, the more I remember their name and what they drank. When I see them walk in the bar, if I'm not too busy and I don't have 3 deep begging me for drinks, like, boom, everything's there, shot for me and you. Like, I'm entertaining. And that entertainment value, people will pay ridiculous amounts of money for. So my friends are graduating college. This is why I stayed in the bar industry for so long. My friends are graduating college with $20, $30, $50, $100,000 in student loan debt. I'm making 60 to 90 in cash a year, working 3 nights a week sometimes, and living my best life. Well, what I thought was my best life, which I turned out hating later as an adult. But no, so the answer that was the long story to this very short answer. Bartenders, great wait staff, great servers, club promoters, they have made a correlation. The happier I make you, the more money I'm allowed to make. And if you can live through that principle in your business life every single day, go get a sales job and go win.
Yeah, that's huge. All right, let's talk about that. What makes you great at sales? Besides making people smile and making them happy.
Yeah. God gave me a gift. I just know how to ask questions. I know how to mirror and match. I know how to raise my tone and sink down with your sorrows as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say anything.
and so is this a gift, or did you learn this over time? Like, let's be real. Because is this something that somebody listening to this right now who might be a bit of an introvert and like just internal, is it something that you could look at them and say, dude, you can learn this. You can learn this.
Oh yeah. Everything can be learned. Now, I think there's definitely skill levels as far as like God-given ability. Like, I can go practice as much as I want, but LeBron James is still going to kick my ass later, right?
Yeah. Maybe not his son, but definitely Bron.
Yeah. I feel like I got a chance against Bronny, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. We might have a chance against Bronny. I don't know, man.
Yeah. But so yes, everyone can learn it, and we do teach those things. And I have watched people whose personality profile doesn't belong in sales, but they want it. They have a track record and they want it. And And we've been able to teach those people some stuff, and those people have done really well. I mean, there's a guy right now that I would swear to you up and down, the dude does not need to have a real estate license. He's still the top 5 realtor in our area right now. He kills it. And it's just sheer force of will. He wants to win. And that's more important to him than his downfall of maybe not having the personality profile or not being able to handle anxiety and stress as well as other people.
So let's talk about that real quick, right? Because there's a difference between there's a difference and a correlation. There's a difference between skill set or God-given set, right? Mm-hmm. And just the sheer desire to win, right? I think, you don't even need a great skill set if you have the sheer desire to win. You just go do, because you're going to win sometimes, whether you're great at it or not, right?
Absolutely.
If you're doing, you're going to win sometimes, right? Like if you fish out of the same lake and 1 out of 20 times you catch a fish, that's 1 out of 20 times you catch a fish. So if you do it 100 times, you get 5 fish. Like, and I talk to a lot of people about this because you coach, I coach, and I talk to a lot of people about this, and I tell them, look, they always want to like perfect the script or like make things excellent, or they want to know everything about the process before they begin the process. And I'm like, dude, just go do it.
Implement. So it's not perfect and then implement. It's implement, then perfect.
So I ask them, I go, hey, do you have the sheer will to win? Or do you have the sheer will to learn?
How about the sheer will to go out and fail?
All right. So we could talk about that too, but
you love that topic. I know that.
So I look at that piece a little bit differently. And so I think that for way too long, we've been telling people to fail forward. And I think it's such a shitty thing to tell people, in my opinion. I feel like you're telling them 2 contradictory words that the universe just doesn't understand. Is it fail or are we moving forward? Which one is it? Right? Yeah. Because the universe doesn't understand your lingo, right? It only knows what you tell it, right? And so if I tell the universe I desire to fail forward, or I need to fail forward in order to succeed, the universe is going to say, cool, let me run you through 1 million failures. And that's painful. And so I think what we've done is we've created a generation of entrepreneurs that think that they don't have to prepare as much anymore, that they can just go do. And if they fail, it's okay, I learned, right? And I think that there's something to be said about the swordsmith that studied under the master for 50 years before he was allowed to make his own sword, right? Like there's something to be said about the samurai who is, under the master for way too long before they're allowed to teach anyone else anything. Like, there's something to be said about that. And so my conundrum with the thought process of fail forward is that we're actually telling a generation of people, and by the way, the universe around them, that they should fail. And I would rather people say, I'm going to succeed forward, because if you don't stop, you can't fail. Like the true definition of failure is quitting.
It's only a true failure if you lost, you quit, and you learn nothing. Like that, if you do those 3 things,
like if you crawl into a corner and die because your business crashed, then you failed. You're a failure, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But if your entire business crashes and you like get up from the corner and go, well, shit, that didn't work. I'm gonna go try something new, and I'm gonna make that work. And you take some of the lessons from the previous business and you apply it to this business. Then how could you have failed?
Yes,
that's a moment in life. It was a hiccup.
Yeah, I think that fail forward. I mean, I think that's what it actually means,
right? But
I'm not sure.
It's the wrong verbiage.
Yeah,
that's like if I tell you to go beat somebody up, and the way I say it is, please go kill them. Like that's literally right. That's you know what I mean? It's taking. It's
not what I meant. My bad.
Yeah, it's taking the medium and making it like, wow, we got to make it impactful for people. And I think we're just sending the wrong message to people. It's like, I don't know if you remember The Secret, the book The Secret that came out, and it was really about manifesting and telling the universe what you want, or telling God what you want, right? Mm-hmm. And in The Secret, it was very specific. It said you really have to be specific with your desires and wants, right? Like, you can't just tell the universe that you want to make money, because the universe will send you a check back from the light company because you overpaid 5 cents, right? Like, you made money.
Congrats, man. You win.
Yeah. And so, you have to be ultimately detailed and specific, because the universe doesn't think the way that we think. Doesn't know what you're trying to say. So every time somebody says, I got to go out there and fail forward, all the universe hears is, well, time to fail.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you change the mindset and you said, I'm going to succeed forward, then you put yourself in a position that allows you to say, okay, in order for me to succeed forward, I need to study this particular business I'm going to get into, and find the right people to do it with, and put the right, systems in place, and like use my database to introduce this business as soon as the business is viable enough to handle a database. Like, but most people don't do that, Harrison. Most people don't do that. Most people run headfirst into a brick wall, and then they go, well, that didn't work, right? It's like lead flow, right? You buy lead flow from a lead generation company for your real estate business, and the first thing the agents say is, man, these leads suck, right?
These leads suck. Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's people all over the country dominating with those leads left and right.
Which is how you and I got introduced.
Yeah. 100%.
I've learned this from personal experience. The leads don't suck. You suck at follow up, or you don't know how to speak to people correctly.
Don't know how to convert.
Yep.
Right. You either don't know the phone, because that's stage number one, right? Like, lead comes in, pick up phone. Most agents don't know how to pick up the phone anymore. They want to text, right? And then stage number two is, can I have a conversation with this person? Like, am I capable of being able to keep them on the phone? Stage number three is, can I convert them into a meeting? Can I get this appointment? And then when I'm at the appointment, it starts all over again. Do I have the capability of engaging with them and making them want to work with me again? Right. And can I convert them into signing this buyer agency agreement or this listing agreement? Like, it's just, and I think most people don't understand those stages because they didn't study the stages. They don't listen to anybody about it. They just go, I got a call, I got a lead. Hey, what's up? You want to see this? And they're fucking it up left and right. And then they call you and they go, Harrison, man, I love being in your company, but these leads suck.
Yeah, I agree. And so the reason I know that agents think leads suck, and the reason I'm absolutely sure it's because they don't have the skills to convert, is I was once that new agent. So when I came into real estate in 2016, I had somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000 in my checking account. I had just sold my bar. And I'd been saving for quite some time for my exit. And I was like, you know what? Everybody knows me. I'm a nice guy. I'm good looking. I used to be skinnier and I didn't have scars all over my face and all these things. And I said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy my way into the industry. I'm going to buy all these leads. So I called Zillow and Realtor.com and put out some Facebook ads, and I had leads, but I had no sales skills. I know how to talk to people, but I don't know how to price a house. I hadn't practiced the scripts. I hadn't practiced the follow-up. I didn't have a CRM. Nobody taught me those things. And so a year later, I am literally broke. 0 closings at 11 months, literally broke. And I had to go get a job. If anyone knows my financial past, I was making 6 figures in my 20s. I had to go get a job at a sandwich shop making $37,000 a year. I went from the cool guy behind the bar making a lot of cash money to I didn't want to be in that lifestyle anymore. So I knew I couldn't go back. And I had to go be humbled. And then I through that time, I was like, I'm not giving up on real estate. I know I'm broke. I'm 1 paycheck away from having to ask my parents to pay my $500 a month mortgage. I'm that broke. And I go get this job, and I stayed there for 2 years, and I worked 45 hours there and 45 hours in real estate every week. And I cold called until it was too inappropriate to call, or until I slurred my words, because I was definitely having vodka tonic after serving sex. And yeah, that's a real story. My girlfriend at the time would, as soon as I got home, she already knew what the drill was. She had a vodka tonic, 2 limes sitting on my desk. I'm about to get after it. And so I got into coaching. Instead of taking my first commission checks, I got into coaching and I reinvested back into myself. That's why I stayed at that job, so that I could continue to reinvest. And at the end of that next year, I had sold 41 houses. And that's when my life changed.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So what I learned was I wasn't ready. I had all the tools, but I didn't have the skills to implement the tools. I had a hammer, but I didn't know how to swing it.
Why do you think people are afraid to hire coaches?
Most people don't want to invest in themselves.
Is that it though? I find it so interesting, right? The same people who love Sunday football and know that football team wouldn't be anything without that badass coach out there, or the same people that love basketball and know that coach is responsible for that team coming together, or again, just other coaching, or even the military, being in the military and knowing that all started with drill instructors, right? Like there was a coach that prepared us for what the next steps were. And then there was leadership, and then you tell people, hey, listen, you own your own business right now. You're in the real estate industry and you're not doing great. Why don't you get some coaching? And they start beating around. They don't, and I've never been able to understand that, Harrison. Never been able to understand why everyone doesn't just immediately get a coach, bring them on board, invest in themselves.
Everyone should. You either get on a team that provides a coach or has a good coach available to you, or you go get a coach. You want my tips on how to succeed in this business? Don't be afraid of hard work. And hard work is getting on the phones and go get someone to mentor you one-on-one and challenge you.
And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about failure, right? That's you doing everything possible to not have a hiccup in your business.
Yeah. Right? I called myself a failure, but I told her, I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm going to be good at this. In fact, I was telling people I will be the number one agent in my board. When I was the number.
And think about how hard you were hitting your head, right? 1 year, nothing. 2 years, sandwich shop. And then all of a sudden, you invested in yourself 40 plus closings.
Yeah. I mean, and that 2 years, people are like, you came out of nowhere. I was like, it didn't feel like I came out of nowhere.
No,
because I cried myself to sleep when I didn't have any money. When
people
I had
see the tip of the iceberg, they don't see the underwater, right?
Yeah. I had to go to that sandwich shop to eat. So as a manager, you get one free meal a day, 7 days a week, regardless whether you worked or not. There were days where that was the only meal I got was a sandwich. I threw extra meat on there. I'm sorry, Will. Don't say but no, I mean, that's serious, and that was part of it. And, it was a hard lesson to learn, but going back to the leads are shit. The leads don't work. If you're not working on the skills, then the tools don't matter. And so in our company today, I won't give realtors leads. I do not give them my internet leads. You're like, wait, what? I know you give leads because they're closing them. After our call center, those guys are trained by me. I have a head person there. She trains them. Me and her talk all the time. She monitors everything for me. And we vet those leads. We follow up with those leads. We hold those agents accountable on those leads. And that's why we're going to have, every year, we have 125 to 150 internet leads closed, and we're a 450 to 550 unit company, hoping for 6 to 7 next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Number one in your area.
Number one team in the state for the last 4 years.
By the way, let everybody know where you're hailing from in case they got business to send you.
Yeah, Northeast Louisiana, Monroe, West Monroe, Ruston, Sterlington, all those good areas, 13 parishes of Northeast Louisiana.
That's awesome, man. I think it's incredible that you're able to do, be the number one team in the state, and then equally run several other companies, knowing that you're choosing the right people. I mean, you said so many things that resonated with how we coach and how we explain to people how to step up to the plate, how to get to the next level. People ask me all the time, and I'm sure they do with you, how do you even do it? Where do you find the time? And the time comes from the people that support me. The time comes from the people that love our businesses, that are committed to the growth of our businesses. I got a great girl on my team. My wife is the chief operating officer of our coaching company and my touring. She handles all the events and sponsors and, emails that go out and everything that we do. I've got a great assistant. I'm interviewing another one tomorrow. Like, this is my little close-knit team. I've got agents on my sales team. I'm not out there selling anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't been in years, but my team, like, I don't care who it is, man. You could be my cousin John, bro. You're getting attached to somebody on my team, know?
Absolutely.
And I spend time with them and I train them and I coach them and I educate them and we spend, we do good shit together. We just signed the lease for a new office. I'm really pumped about that. It would be nice, but it's going to be, it's what we do. It's what we do, man, and we do it knowing that we have to surround ourselves with the right people, knowing that.
Man, you got to have the right people. And after you have the right people, leaders, don't forget to invest and reinvest in those people because they need to hear from you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
A lot of these people left their livelihoods, their careers. The director of my company, she is my right hand. In fact, look, I don't even know what my bills are every month, guys. I don't know who pays what or where it goes. Like, this person, I don't even know what my insurances are. I have no idea who does all that. She takes care of everything. I am like, you want to know where my time is? I have I wouldn't know what to do without her. And it's been really important, not just to financially tell them, hey, I care about you and I really appreciate you, but also for them to emotionally know that you care, you appreciate, you want to see their family do better. As you do better, make sure they're doing better too. That's something I've struggled with. My income's gone up. And then you need to remember that there's some people behind you supporting you. And without them, you wouldn't be there. And that was something I've had to realize in the last 6 months is have to reevaluate some of those things and make sure that I have programs and things in place for them.
That's awesome, man. I think it's one thing to say that leverage comes through people and the development of the businesses come through people. I think it's important that you mention right now how well we take care of them too, and how important they are to our lives, right? Like, we cannot ever forget how important that is. I tell my team all the time, it is your responsibility to make me forget how to log into the MLS.
Man, I wish they would let me quit.
I tell them straight up, it is your responsibility. I want to forget. Like, the next time I log into MLS, I want it to be a struggle. Like, I want to do the whole forgot password, can't remember my username, and then I want to get inside and it have been updated like 4 times since the last time I logged in. I have no idea what to do. And
now you're like an old guy and you're like, I don't even want to learn this anymore.
Listen, my partner, Rudy Hernandez, in our title company, New World Title, this guy, he didn't have a laptop for the longest time. He did everything from his phone,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, this is actually in my book. I remember we were traveling one time and I had a backpack and I had my laptop and I had my iPad and I had chargers and I had backup batteries and like all this stuff,
We travel similarly.
Yeah. And he walks in, he's got no backpack. He's got like this strap, like, Louis Vuitton kind of, pocket thing, and his wallet's in there and stuff like that. And his phone, and he looks at me, he goes, what do you have in there? This is big old backpack. I look like I'm about to go on a 50-mile hump, Yeah. And I looked at him and I told him, oh my dude, we're traveling, but I still got to be on work. So yeah, I got my iPad and my computer and my chargers and this and that. And he just kind of looked at me, went and walked away. And I never forget that. I tell that story all the time. He just looks at me and like smiles, because that was the moment that I realized that my friend Rudy ran a business that was like 10 times the size of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I probably made like 20 times the amount of money I was making.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it all from a cell phone.
Yeah.
And the reason he could do that was because he had really good people in place.
Yeah. Now, while I am still I say I'm actively in sales. I work a very select few, and then I run our Renovate Now, Pay Later program. and then our cash offers. But I haven't filled out. So last year I was responsible for, I don't know, 120 to 150 listings sold, just myself. And I probably did about 10 transactions worth of paperwork.
Yeah.
We sent off a counter offer this morning. It took me 10 seconds to hit forward crh@thltrealty.com. Counter, seller will pay $7,000 in closing. We'll pay this for a buyer agent commission, 10-day inspection period. Have a good day.
Yeah.
And so that was
everything.
Yeah, that was it. That's all. I am done. You know,
mine is a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
I got my transaction girl in my WhatsApp group, and I tag her on. So we do a WhatsApp group for every one of our listings, and so whichever agent is tied to that listing, our transaction coordinator, a team manager, and me, and we're all inside the groups, you know. And then of course each responsible party. So like if there's a husband and wife selling a house, they're both in the group, and we do that because we find that communication is significantly better. Right? Yeah. Like you almost can't miss anything. Plus you can add PDFs and you can put pictures and links and whatever else in there. So it becomes a real focal point. And should you ever need to go to court for anything, you can print out the entire dialogue. Right. Yeah. And so, but we use that, and she's in there. So I just run in there and I go, hey, sellers agree, $7,000 credit, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, all right, no problem. You know, and that's it. She takes care of it. You know, yeah. I don't want to, like, I don't even want to go to forms classes because I want to know that I'm never going to look at a form again. Like, and I think that's okay. I think you get to a certain point in your career. I think everybody should strive for that. You know, I tell folks all the time, you should build this business as if you're attempting to sell it one day, you know, and that means you're going to need a lot of good people and a lot of really great spots.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the way this podcast turned out because it was all about people. And I think, you know, this is the one topic that maybe a lot of people don't really talk about. You know, we talk about lead gen, we talk about conversion, we talk about, you know, all this bullshit. And well, it's not bullshit. I don't want to call it that, but
it's important. But in order to scale a business, it's always going to be people.
Yeah. We rarely do I get a great guest on that talks about scalability. And you know, kind of all started with, you know, the info that you sent me with like 7 businesses and this and that. And I was like, oh shit, we got to talk. You know what I mean? This is the direction I'm going with this. I know we had thought lead generation, but this is the direction I'm going with this.
I thought that's what I was logging in for. I was like, I got internet lead gen. I mean, I've taught like 50 classes on this shit, whatever. I can do it again.
Yeah, no, man, we could do it. We could do some other time but you know, how much of that is out there? I think this is so critical. I think people need to see past the glass ceiling sometimes and break through, right? Mm-hmm. Where you don't have to be a solo agent, or you don't have to be a small team, or you could build this thing as big as you want or desire. And you don't have to, you can own your own company. You don't have to own your own company. You could still build it as big as you want, you know? Yeah. You know, I know plenty of guys that are under a brokerage. I mean, plenty, all different brokerages, under a brokerage, running 50, 60, 70 person teams. Mm-hmm. I got one friend of mine that has a team. He's a mega team with 110 agents.
Holy cow. That's a brokerage in my area.
It is, right. That's what I'm saying. He could be a brokerage, but he chooses to align himself with a company. It makes his whole life a lot easier. He doesn't have to worry about the minutiae of being a broker, you know? Yeah. And he can just focus on the team, and he enjoys that, you know? And I think I think it's huge. But again, just popping the bubble and letting people know you could grow this as big as you want. As long as you put the right people in place. You know, look, you could grow it as big as you want, not put the right people in place and be responsible for everything and drive yourself into the dirt. Mm-hmm. Or you could build it as big as you want, put the right people in place, and still have a tremendous amount of time on your hands. It's the one thing we're never going to get back.
Yeah, man. So it's funny you said that about the, you know, you can put the wrong people in that place, and then you can grow a business as big as you want, but it's not going to work, and you're going to end up doing everything. So before I had Amy, who is the director I have now, had somebody else. And for the first season of me growing this team, they were actually really great. They really were. And that's why I think there are some people that are just seasonal in your life. We talked about earlier, like always build a bench and always top grade talent. And it's not to say get rid of people whenever they no longer serve you. But in order to grow, you have to be in alignment with those people who are going to take you into the next season of your life. Yeah. And I noticed every coach that I had, and you know, we talked about coaching too. I always keep 1 to 2 coaches plus a mentor in my life, where that mentor is talking to me about personal stuff, my life, drinking, relationships, whatever that thing is, right? And all of my coaches, all my mentors, like, if you want to go to the next level, you're going to have to fire this person. And I couldn't do it. I could not fire that person. I was having panic attacks. I'd wake up at 2 a.m., which at that time in my life, I didn't go to bed till 12:30 because I was working all night long. Yeah. And I would wake up at 2 a.m. with panic attacks. Did any of this paperwork get done? I'd go into dot loop and look at everything. Like, none of it got sent. None of it got done. I'm panicking. I'm doing work till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, waking up at 6 to start work again and lead generate and start growing this thing again. Yeah. And it took me almost 3 years to fire this person and put Amy in their place. Within 6 weeks,
everything changed.
Everything changed. I got to sleep. I got peace again.
Wow, man.
And that's just a definition of putting the right people in the right seats and top grading talent. You can't go build an organization where you haphazardly put people in a place. I promise you that thing, it can grow for a little while, but it will fail and you will underserve the people that you're committed to.
Yeah, man, I think there's not enough attention put to that. So I appreciate you putting that out there to everybody. Dude, this was an incredible podcast. Thanks for doing this with me. I really appreciate you, Harrison.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the opportunity. It's great to get to meet you.
Guys, I am glad that you tuned in today. This was a great, great topic. Listen, I encourage you guys to pop the bubble, get out of your space, get out of your comfort zone, and think about who is the next person you're going to put in your business that's going to give you more time. Not only are they going to give you more time, they're going to give you ROT, right? There's a return on time. But what's going to be the ROI by putting that person in place? And you're not so exhausted anymore. You're not, dragging your knuckles in the ground, and someone else is helping you implement your dreams and your thought processes and your desires for your business. Think about the incredible outcome that comes from that and how much more money you will make and more time you will have. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the David Adam Kerr Show. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you love this episode, share it with your friends and family. Let them know to take a look and let them know they should subscribe. And if you guys got some leads out there that you have for Louisiana, Harrison will gladly take them. Make sure you follow him. I've got a scroll on the bottom there. You follow me on Instagram at David Adam Kurz, or you follow Harrison at theharrisonlilly.com. Sir, thank you very much for doing this with me, man. I appreciate you to the fullest.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
Take care.